Hey, this is the World Advice Channel. What I want to talk about today is a question that I'm certain a lot of Canadians have been wondering in recent times, which is that is Canada starting to lose its freedom of speech? So, for this video, I'm going to explain in a very logical and very thorough, straightforward way if Canada is losing its freedom of speech and if anything is becoming more of a socialist, even communist type country. So, anyway, that's what I'll be discussing for this video. And all I have to say is let's get started. So to answer the question, is Canada becoming more socialist due to the fact that it's losing its freedom of speech? The simple answer to that question is yes. Canada is definitely losing its freedom of speech because with bills like Bill C-11, which definitely restricts people's freedom of expression due to some attempt to kind of promote Canadian content, which anyone who's Canadian can tell you that Canadian content has historically been known for not really being the greatest quality anyway. Just like the Super Bowl, like no one really watches the Super Bowl Canadian commercials. Everyone just simply goes over to the station that offers the American ones to our music. Our music has been not necessarily the greatest, whether pre Drake or post Drake, and just whatever. Canadian quality content has never been the greatest, but it has never really been the greatest for that matter anyway. But even then, um, they're trying to push these things onto people, which, to put it bluntly, when you look at it, it clearly shows they have an agenda, especially with the fact that they also said, you know, they want to figure out what things are appropriate and what are not appropriate to look at. Because the truth of the matter is that Bill C-11 is simply an attempt for them to kind of prevent Canadians from getting access to certain information or certain topics and stuff, which of course is a violation of freedom of speech. Because the truth about freedom of speech, whether you're comfortable with what someone says or not, you have to let people obviously be able to express themselves freely. Because then the question becomes, when do we draw the line? You know, it's 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 a hard question to answer, if not impossible to answer the question to draw the line. So the truth of the matter is, we need freedom of speech, whether the topics are people are comfortable with or not. We as a nation have to let people be able to speak their mind freely. And the truth of the matter is, Justin Trudeau with Bill C-11 is trying to cut down on that. Not to mention, I remember overlooking a lot of things on CBC as well, and they also have a lot of programs that they've been trying to do on and off, where they can literally censor and even have people arrested and put in prison for simply voicing their opinions on certain topics, or and like just saying things that might be discriminatory against certain groups of people, which of course racism and all that type of stuff is wrong, absolutely is wrong. But like, to really try to take away someone's freedom of speech just simply for that, it's not, is also extremely wrong, but they've been trying to do that for a long time. Because the thing is, I don't think anyone really, mainstream society really is crazy about the rights of people like that. But the thing is that if you start taking away their rights, then you're going to start taking the rights away from everyone else to say those things. But either way, it hasn't gone into these people in our government, and particularly the liberal side of the government, about these particular topics, because the truth of the matter is they are taking away our freedom of speech. So Canada is slowly losing its freedom of speech. You hear about all the time, from all the things I've previously mentioned to also, of course, the fact that they are now restricting what people can say on university campuses. You had a story, I remember I watched a story where someone literally actually said a derogatory word, the N word, but wasn't really like actually being racist. They're just using it as an example. I don't know if it was the N word or some derogatory term for a certain race of people. But but either way, they're just using it as an example as an example. And guess what? That person got taken off of the university. Like, how does that make any sense if you're just using it for an example? Like, that's crazy, but this is what's been going on in Canada, and this is what's turning a lot of people off from the left, which is so sad because the left is actually the best political party in Canada, and just in general for the world for that matter. Because the thing is, for the left, you can live how you want to live, you can say what you want to say, you can be in general who you want to be. But if they're going to continue to do these types of things and try to restrict people for what they can and cannot say, then it's just going to turn more and more people off from the left wing, for that matter, and become more right wing, which the right wing has historically shown. Yeah, we don't really like people of color in our nation, for that matter. The right wing have historically been doing that. And all these policies, particularly this Trudeau form of liberalism, has done is just cause more problems that don't need to exist. So the truth of the matter is that Canada is losing its freedom of speech. It is losing it rapidly, and it's just going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse in the foreseeable future, because Justin Trudeau doesn't know what he's doing. He, instead of actually trying to deal with the issues that Canada clearly needs to really be focused more on, like maybe trying to figure out ways to solve problems like inflation and this and that, he just simply wants to focus on topics that clearly are very controversial and have very high emotions. Like, this guy literally during the pandemic was talking about some crap about, oh, we should take away people's right to own firearms and all that stuff. But why would you want to take away people's rights to own firearms when you have a pandemic that's killing so many people at the same time? Like, that's the most trivial thing to focus on when you had a pandemic. This was like 2021 or 22 or something, or even maybe 2020 or something. He was talking about that stuff. The only people should really be allowed certain like assault rifles or something like that were native people, to put it bluntly. And that's just silly. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Or talking about, oh, we're not gonna have Canada Day celebrations, to put it bluntly. We shouldn't have Canada Day celebrations because of the discovery of residential school deaths or something, these mass graves and all this type of stuff. He's just doing things that clearly just pisses people off, okay? He just hasn't done a good job, and he hasn't done a good job representing the left, and he's just done things to just kind of turn people off from the left wing. And back to my discussion about freedom of speech, all of these things he's doing is just preventing people from voicing their opinions on anything, for that matter. He's just done a terrible job, and has just kind of just screwed everything up, because people can't express things free like they used to anywhere anymore, to put it bluntly. You're else you not unless you want to get in some serious freaking trouble. So the truth of the matter is that is Canada losing its freedom of speech, and is it heading toward a socialist, maybe even communist situation? I wouldn't doubt at this point. If you tell this to people 10, 20 years ago, people say, oh, that's no way that's true. But the more and more you're actually seeing what is going on in Canada, it actually is kind of happening, to put it bluntly. I don't know if there's any way to really solve this problem. Probably the best thing to do is obviously for people to complain about it, and of course Justin Trudeau to be taken out of office. But either way, these are issues we're gonna have to deal with in the meantime, because Justin Trudeau clearly doesn't know what he's doing, and is just doing things that are just gonna make things worse, particularly for people of color. Because then people will look at this and will say, well, why do you guys always have to vote liberal? And of course just blame us for everything, instead of realizing, no, a lot of these things we didn't even ask for. It was actually just Justin Trudeau and some of his followers who asked for this stuff. And that's what I'm trying to say here. You know what I mean? So the truth of the matter is that hopefully things get better in the future, but for now, yeah, Canada's losing its freedom of speech, and we may have a lot of issues in the foreseeable future, as if there hasn't been enough for this new millennium so far. Anyway, this is my video. If you like videos like this about politics, remember to thumbs this video up and hit the subscribe button. This is all I have to say, and simply put it, later.